atmosphere is that we still have a tremendous amount of wind energy above us tonight. So the stuff coming into Northwest Davidson right now certainly has potential to reach severe limits. And we'll have to watch that stuff back between Erin and Waverly. If that comes in at more of a north-south orientation, as it approaches Williamson and Davidson counties here in an hour and a half, that would have a much higher potential for damaging winds. And as we saw up in Kentucky, even a few spin-up tornadoes have occurred as that comes in. So it's one of these situations where not everything's going for it, but the background in the atmosphere, the wind energy, and the amount of potential energy that we're dealing with certainly requires us to keep a close eye on this one and give it some respect.
So looking back here at the Erin and Waverly storm back there that you were just mentioning, and this is way back toward the Tennessee River. This is in Houston County out that way. And so what you're saying is that if you see radar or if you see storms that are more standing up on, vertically on radar, rather than being so slanted like they are back here around northern Davidson County, that would be something we would need to watch more closely for potential tornadic development later on.
Definitely. And I can see, and as I look at my other radar feed that I'm looking at here, there's definitely outflow boundaries that are surging out ahead of that convection. As you look a little bit to the east of Van Leer, that stuff is much less organized, and that outflow actually tucks back into the storms as you get north of Waverly. That area will need to be watched in addition in the immediate term to the stuff up northwest of Jolton.
Yeah, so that's good stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll be watching out for that. So yeah, be watching for these storms that are very slanted right now coming into Davidson County. We need to watch the stuff that's more standing up, more at a sharper angle coming in for potential tornadic development. And we saw that earlier up in Kentucky, actually. We saw a very similar thing happen up there where there was a very different looking signature as the radar sort of showed the storms more standing north to south. And that's where the strongest winds were in a very, very strong downburst up there and potential rotation. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And Tom's going to hang around and help us out with those sorts of insights into this as we move through the next hour or so. And as long as we need to here on YouTube Live. And so let's back up a little bit and sort of reset and talk about what we've got going on. Several have joined us just in the past little bit. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning, which this is no surprise. This did not surprise us today. But the atmosphere has been primed for severe weather, and we just sort of now are getting the chance to see what it's going to do once it gets here. That's been the big question that we haven't been able to really answer today. We see a lot of numbers, we see a lot of ingredients, and we see a lot of data, but now we get to kind of see how the storms are going to evolve over us. And so what we see is a line of potentially severe storms. They have a warning with them in Davidson County, so including downtown, including Creve Hall, including Jolton and Goodlettsville and Hermitage and Donaldson, pretty much everywhere. Except maybe the far southeastern part of Davidson County, but that may get included later. So pretty much everybody in Davidson County now expecting the possibility of 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1-inch hail. That's the expectation right now. We don't see any rotation yet with this that warrants a tornado warning, anything like that. Right now it is a kind of a blanket severe thunderstorm warning for Davidson County. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Let's look back to the west. In fact, actually to do this, let me bring up another radar to do this with. This is more of a national view that we can look at. We're kind of zoomed in regionally here, and you can sort of get an idea of what the storms are doing as far as the line goes. Now you see a break in the line back around Memphis and into Arkansas there, and we were just discussing a little bit ago, we're going to kind of have to watch that break, see if that break sort of fills in a little more, or if there continues to be a break in that line as that comes through Middle Tennessee. That obviously could impact sort of the messaging over the next few hours, as far as if the storms hold together for places like Thompson Station and places to the south, we'll just have to see how that evolves. And Tom, we were talking about that just a little bit ago, as far as how that certainly could have the possibility of filling in over the next couple of hours.
Yeah, I think if you don't mind, switch over to the velocity from OHX just to
Okay.
show so everyone that's watching to see how much wind energy there is just above the ground. If you look at the base velocity, there is a ton of wind energy just above the ground
Yeah,
coming
sure
in
is.
behind this. So, I mean, it's a lot of that's not going to be realized at the surface. A lot of that is 60 to 90 mile an hour winds that we're seeing 1,000 to 1,500, 2,000 feet up.
We're looking at
But
these blue colors here.
yeah, the blue colors are significant wind, really significant wind. It's not a color we see on that in the scope and the area of coverage of that strong wind, covering 4, 5, 6 counties, only a couple thousand feet up is why I'm still concerned about potential for things to quickly go downhill. But as long as the leading edge of these storms is a little disconnected from where the high rainfall rates are, then it's more of a borderline or marginal severe thunderstorm. It's when things really get tightened up along that leading edge, or if that storm takes that north-south orientation. Those are the things we're going to have to watch for over the next hour. The more likely scenario as this comes through is trees down, some wind damage, certainly some power outages. But as long as nothing gets too organized, it won't be all that bad. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. But those are the things I'm looking for right now.
Interesting to note, looking back at these storms in West Tennessee, north of Jackson, there between Jackson and the Kentucky state line, those are moving pretty much due east, Tom. And is it possible we could have a little bit of a training situation set up as those storms sort of move east and are generally still aimed at Nashville, even in West Tennessee?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something. It's always something we have to be concerned about here in Middle Tennessee. But it's going to really come down to where that outflow boundary that's coming into Northwest Davidson and Dixon and Southern Cheatham County now, how that lays out will kind of determine how and where those storms evolve over the next 90 minutes.
Gotcha. That's great. All right, so severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for Davidson County, and that's in effect until 11:45. All right, so this was a very large, much larger than we typically see here in Middle Tennessee, a much larger polygon, severe thunderstorm warning polygon than we typically see. And so this thing was literally put into effect for an hour and 5 minutes. And that's
a long one.
That's very long for the Nashville office, but it's just sort of the way, like we were saying, the way this thing is orientated here, that we have quite a long severe thunderstorm warning here till 11:45, and we'll kind of have to see how that evolves and how it gets trimmed back and all that sorts of stuff over the next little bit. I have to just glance up here into Kentucky because I just have to notice how fortunate we are. There are multiple tornado warnings in effect up there for a supercell that has lasted the better part of the afternoon into tonight, and has caused multiple tornado warnings up there still for that storm. And also a destructive tag on a severe thunderstorm warning up there in Kentucky for 80 mile per hour winds. That's a warning polygon you don't see very often, and they've got that going up there in Kentucky. So I just have to glance up there just for a little bit and understand that we are very fortunate. And again, just as Tom was talking about, here's an example of a storm that has more of a north-south orientation to it. All right, see how ours are very slanted southwest to northeast, that line is. You go up here to the northwest and you just sort of see how this one is very much standing sort of north to south, right? And so ours are sort of slanted like that. That makes a difference in how they behave. And so up there, that's where you have that polygon for that high end severe thunderstorm warning up in Kentucky is right where that area or the radar signature that Tom was talking about there just a second ago. So that's something for us to watch and to make sure that we don't get going down here where the storms appear to be much weaker than they are up in Kentucky. And that sort of matches the outlooks we've had today, that the stronger storms would be up in Kentucky and off to our west, or off to our north and to our west. And then we would sort of get that line as it comes through and comes out of that area. And we would experience that line as it sort of comes out of that most favorable environment. And we would experience the storms then. So we have a sort of a marginally severe line coming through. Definitely can cause some damage. A lot of wind energy with it, and if any of those winds get down to the surface, then we could have some issues. All right, so let's look at our winds. Let's look at the velocities, and we see some pockets here, like around Joelton, Ivy Point, Goodlettsville, Greer Row, maybe some 40 to 50 mile per hour winds there. All right, that's where you see those pockets of blue. And then as Tom was mentioning back here aloft, the radar beam's a little higher here, but we've got these 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds aloft up here, and this is going to be a couple thousand feet in the air. But there's just a ton of wind energy, just a ton of wind energy up there. That's a low-level jet that is just really blowing up there just off the surface. And so any of those winds that can make their way down to the surface, that's where our problem is. And that's what we have to watch out for. So far, we're not seeing just a ton of really strong winds reaching the surface, maybe some 30, 40, 50s. And we hope that that's about all it gets. But that can still bring some trees down. We still get some reports on that every once in a while for winds of that strength. Let's talk about reports just for a second. Will, you're here and going to be taking reports. So in this kind of situation, what are we looking at as far as reports, and how do you get them to us?
First of all, I want to say, Andrew, and show you, I got a new mute button.
Oh, you did?
It doesn't work if I hit it. So if we could stay, so I can stay muted.
Well,
Anyway,
that is a great.
Wait, hold that up again. I want to see it.
So you just.
How does it work? What do you plug?
And
what
if
do you
I touch
plug it
again,
into?
it unmutes.
But what do you plug it into?
My computer.
But like a USB port, and it just automatically.
Man, I'll see if I can get this on screen here in a minute. Somerset, Kentucky got hit hard by a violent tornado about 45 to 50-ish minutes ago. I guess closer to an hour ago. And I believe it may still be on the ground, too, as it moves. It's well away from us, not moving towards us, but, again, associated with the same storm system. So scary stuff, frightening stuff indeed. Certainly our prayers go out to those in the Somerset, Kentucky area. Well, let's go back to radar again. We'll keep going back to that view occasionally as these storms work closer to Hermitage Springs. But again, Macon County, these storms are moving into your neck of the woods right now. Salina, it's already storming in Salina, but the roughest of the weather will be to you probably the next 15 to 20 minutes. Same for Hartsville, still back to your northwest, but the rain will begin to pick up here pretty soon. And then that heavier activity still probably a good 20 minutes or so away. Carthage, you're not included in this severe thunderstorm warning. By the way, shout out to Carthage. Carthage City Council got on the ball with the siren system. No longer is the tornado siren sounding for severe thunderstorm warnings. It's now only going off for tornado warnings, which is how it should be. That's how nearly all municipalities
laid out across the southern and eastern part of Kentucky. And that's really what has driven, I think, a lot of the supercell action up that way. So absent from that, the atmosphere just was not very supportive of spontaneous ignition of thunderstorms today. It really needed something to kick them off down here further south, where the atmosphere was a little more what I would say is capped. So what it really is taking to break that cap, to initiate thunderstorms, is this big wind-driven gush of cold air that's coming down out of Kentucky. So that's actually initiating thunderstorms as it spreads into that capped air mass further south and is initiating storms on its leading edge. So that limits a little bit how much wind potential we can have. And as you look at some of the radar images that you've shown, you'll actually see a little thin line come out ahead of those very bright red and orange radar returns. When that happens, typically you're not getting the strongest winds right there. The strongest winds are going to be where that outflow is co-located with the highest areas of reflectivity or the highest rainfall and hail returns that we see. And really, I'm not seeing much that looks like anything other than small hail coming into Middle Tennessee right now. So,
well, yeah, that's, listen, I'll take it any day of the week. Compared to what we saw in that 20Z observed sounding, we're in a much better place now.
But you can see how close it was, right? It was just a couple counties away, and that's kind of how we deal with in weather. It's not always, there's not exact. Sometimes it's close. I'm not totally ready to give up on this event yet, just because of all the wind energy that we have. But we are not realizing the full potential of the atmosphere right now because everything's kind of being driven by a different kind of dynamics that's happening up around Somerset, Bowling Green, those areas, which had much more wind shear and other factors at play. It's just that close.
Well, Andrew, to answer your question about reports, I think right now the reports that would be the most helpful are going to be from wind damage. If there are trees down, tree limbs down, I'm seeing in the chat a number of folks saying that the power's out in certain areas. So if you have power line down reports, obviously please be careful if you're going to do that. Make sure that you include hashtag T-Spotter. Send us a photo if it's safe to take one, and we'll funnel those reports to the Weather Service to help those warnings downstream.
Yeah, and Will does a great job with that. He sort of knows what the Weather Service is looking for and knows how to really take your reports and curate those into a concise list and send that to them, the things that are most useful to them. So feel free to send those in. We'd love to have those reports.
If you got a minute, Andrew, switch over to velocity. Sure. Switch over to velocity on OHX.
Sure.
And look just south of Hendersonville. It looks like there's some severe winds. You can see there.
Right there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. So
talk about it.
We're looking at 50, 60 mile per hour winds there coming into the peninsula there south of Hendersonville, right into the cone of silence of the radar there. So let's zoom out just a little bit and kind of see where that is. In fact, let me go to a different, a little bit easier to see here with the county lines. So right there along the peninsula, right there south of Hendersonville, and that's right along the leading edge there, isn't it, Tom? Right there on the leading edge of those storms, right, kind of before it's right on that outflow boundary. It's where some of that strong wind is there right now. So potentially some severe winds up there came just through Goodlettsville, Rivergate, and into Hendersonville there, right on the leading edge.
So there'll be potential for pockets like that through Davidson and maybe even in the northern part of Williamson over the next 30 to 40 minutes.
And here's kind of that thin line you were talking about, this blue line here. If you look here, it goes from White Bluff, Kingston Springs, Bells Bend, like the 2465 split, Trinity Lane exit there, all the way up toward Lakewood. You can kind of make out a blue line here. That's that outflow boundary. That's that rush of cold air, or cool air, we should say, that's sort of coming out ahead of these storms. That is the forcing, we call it. That's the forcing that we need to lift this air up and to take advantage of some of that energy that we have up in the atmosphere today. This is the first forcing that we've had today. And so this is why this is the first storms of the day for us, is we just haven't had anything to really kick these storms off like we do now. So this little outflow boundary, or this big outflow boundary, is what's doing the job there. Got some other storms that have fired up, or some other rain showers down here in Hickman County and Centerville. These are non-severe, and you have to remember we actually are pretty we still have a pretty stout cap in place. So not expecting these to grow into like major supercells or anything. In fact, the first one is, it's just kind of hit this level, and then that's kind of all it's doing. Let's see if there's any lightning at all in those. Maybe just a little bit of lightning. Okay, so could be breaking through a little bit of that cap, but really kind of struggling to do that. So those are non-severe cells down there in Hickman County right now, and those are slowly headed toward Williamson County, but are non-severe right now. But a lot of lightning in this batch of storms coming in, though. That is for sure. Very energetic. A lot of ice. We have low freezing levels up there, so there's a lot of chances for lightning to be produced in these cells. Yeah, well, I was actually just thinking about pulling that up. We got
it's getting swallowed.
Yeah, we got the Gallatin tower cam up there, and was actually watching this earlier was watching the supercells up in Kentucky from that camera earlier up in Gallatin. So yeah, it was kind of a mess.
Yeah, so we're seeing obviously wind-driven rain, and then big lightning flashes behind it. I'm seeing at least 2 positive strikes near Gallatin. Obviously with a lower freezing line, we're going to have a pretty substantial lightning with anything that gets some strength behind it.
So severe thunderstorm warning continues until 11:45, and I'm trying to get my radar back. How do I get my radar back?
Outflow just got here in Germantown, maybe 40-mile-an-hour winds is what we're getting.
Wow.
That's good, everybody. This is almost best case scenario for what we were looking at this morning versus what we're getting now.
Yeah, that with the outflow, ahead of it. That forcing that Andrew talked about is not creating supercells, at least not significant ones. I still have my eye on Centerville, I guess, but
I was just counting the number of counties in this severe thunderstorm. 15 counties.
Yeah,
that's a huge severe thunderstorm warning. Severe thunderstorm warning continues till 11:45, and what they are doing, though, they are cutting counties out of this warning as the line passes. All right, so there were other places included here in this polygon, and they are trimming this polygon up as the storm passes. All right, so we may not be in here till 11. In fact, they're even trimming the tornado watch.
Yeah, behind it.
They're canceling the watch in Stewart and Montgomery County. So as this line passes, this is the extent of the severe weather threat, although we are going to sort of be watching these storms back here in Paris and Huntington. Again, these are in West Tennessee. They're moving east also. We're just going to kind of have to see how they evolve as they get a little closer. They haven't even crossed the Tennessee River yet, but they're moving east. And so we'll just keep an eye on them as well. But they currently are sub-severe. They are not severe. This thing looks pretty unimpressive, guys, to me. But as Tom said, we do have these little pockets here where we could get some quick elevated winds that could gust to 60 miles per hour. A couple of pockets there around Pegram. Some of that's a little bit of radar noise, but you just have these little pockets in here where you could get some of these strong winds down at the surface. Again, that's because you look back here over Montgomery County, Stewart County, Dixon County, and Cheatham County, and Robertson County. You've got just right up at about 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet, you've got these screaming winds. They're blowing hurricane force up there. All right, these are 75-mile-an-hour winds up there at just a few thousand feet above our heads. I mean, when you take off in an airplane, you're up at that altitude in no time. I mean, seconds off the runway. So just barely off the ground, we're getting hurricane force winds up there. So what would it take to bring some of that down to the surface? Not just a whole lot. And so it's possible we could have some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts with this line as it comes through, but it just looks kind of ragged.
And that is supported by the ACAR sounding that David just shared in Slack, where you can see that, at least from that single ACAR sounding, Cape, which was supposed to be near 4,000, is now below 1,000. Convective inhibition has also risen. This is all good news for us.
So the outflow boundary here looks to be right around Riverwalk, Vanderbilt, Hermitage. So if you look right, you kind of see this blue line. It's getting kind of faint. As we get into the night, you get a lot of the bugs that have come out. And in the summertime here, in the springtime, summertime, you get a lot of noise on the radar this time of night. But you kind of see this outflow boundary here, and it's this blue line running right from the radar in Old Hickory straight down through Nashville. That's where you're going to get that strong gust of wind. The storm's behind that line. And it is slowly but surely pushing on through. Let's see here.
Pretty typical for a squall line. Pretty typical. Another update on power outages west of us in Robertson County. Emergency management reports 3,800 without power from this storm line. So again, I would not be surprised if we have some power outages here. If I lose power, I do have a contingency plan. We're on battery backup. That'll buy us a little bit of time. But my wife's Pathfinder has a home power source, they call it. It's just a regular 110 outlet. So I'm going to run an extension cord out there. We're going to plug our router into that and a computer, and we're going to keep going. So hopefully and not destroy any equipment. We can't run anything high.
That would make
What-
sense.
What you would expect with low end severe or
Yep.
high end sub-severe.
That's about right. So let's go check out TB&A, shall we? Is TB&A working today? You never know. It appears to be working.
Yay.
It looks like it's picking up on a pretty strong wind gust there. That's going to be around Annex Avenue. There around the Nations, just west of the Nations.
That is, if you're on Charlotte, right before you get to Hill Center.
That's another one of those pockets of
Yep.
damaging wind. So that's about 5 miles southwest of me. So that's impressive.
And that's showing 72 miles per hour, guys. And that's at about 700 feet, 750 feet. So crossing I-40 there.
Yeah, so that's going to work its way into like the Westmead, Hillwood,
White Bridge, Sylvan Park.
White Bridge, Cherokee Park, West End Avenue area before long. Those are all really wooded neighborhoods, so it's likely that we'll see those power outage numbers go up.
Here's a traffic camera from there. Certainly doesn't appear to be 74 miles an hour, but I do see the trees moving. So always a question of whether that's reaching the ground. Definitely breezy there. I'm not seeing anything hurricane force, but definitely could be a mess if that gets
And I'm glad
into
we
some
have
wooded areas.
I'm glad we have TBNA because that isn't
That we look at, but this is definitely a pretty decent sign of maybe some nickel to perhaps even some quarter-size hail, possibly. I'd say, based on that report, probably somewhere in this area by this point, and then again, that is moving towards the southeast. So, again, that is something we'll watch. It moves towards Russell Hill. Of course, I'm watching it myself because I'm hoping it stays away from me. I don't want that, but nobody does. Nobody wants hail. So this is what we're going to do here over the next couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours. We'll just sit here and watch these storms roll through. We'll be live for them, again, as they continue on through. Looks like we have over 2,000 viewers right now across our platforms. Again, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm sure that number will probably tick upwards with time if we get a new warning farther south and east. I'm sure once Putnam County enters the fold with a warning, we'll probably get an increase there. But again, no imminent tornado.
Hopefully that does not reach the ground, but we'll be watching for it. And yeah, I can see the Weather Service radar just wouldn't have a good read on that. It's not. Yeah, boy, it looks
right down the line.
That looks ragged.
Yeah, totally outflow driven at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things aren't even bowing. Like when we usually get, like we had that derecho 5 years ago in May. There was a bow structure to it. This is almost, I mean, it's not the opposite of a bow, but it's a completely different presentation. So that wind energy is really struggling to get down.
Yeah, if we didn't have
great.
all that wind energy above the ground, I wouldn't really be that concerned. This is something that wouldn't really have all that much potential. It's just anything that taps into that is going to quickly produce channels of damaging winds. That's why still worth watching.
Let's look back to the west. We were talking about these storms back to the west. Again, we're just on the Nashville radar here, but if we go to more of a regional view, David, could you check that mesoscale discussion while you're? Looks like we have a new mesoscale discussion.
Of course.
Or actually, it may not be new, but might have something in it we want to see. So anyway, yeah, looking back to the west. Still got some storms back around the Boot Hill, Missouri. So yeah, it looks like this thing's going to make it. Looks like everybody's going to get at least some rain with this over Davidson and Williamson. But yeah, still seeing that break there around Memphis, through the Delta region, East Arkansas, out there in the farmland. But
So the
go ahead.
rainfall estimates on here, MRMS data, they're all under an inch. Most of the areas are about 1/2 to 0.6 inches, so 1/2 to 2/3. Some of them are just under an inch. So if you've got ball games in the morning, definitely want to call and make sure the fields are okay. And especially if all that rain that's out towards the west gets in here, you're certainly going to need to look and see if you're rained out for the morning. I think it'll be field dependent, of course. Andrew, I don't see that mesoscale discussion.
I realized it was actually from an hour ago. It was from an hour ago.
Okay, I thought I was losing my mind there.
It was on. It's here on GR Earth, but I clicked on it in the time.
Yeah, it's the old
from
one.
an hour ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay.
By the way, that supercell that went through Somerset did bad stuff in Kentucky. That is a long-tracked supercell with very bad things on it. So it crossed I-75 just near London, Kentucky. I-75, to be clear, the road from Lexington to Knoxville.
This is the one right here. This was this is up
still
in Kentucky.
Going.
That is wild. That thing's been around
almost
all
reminds
day.
me of the supercell we had here 5 years ago.
Yeah.
In terms of how long it tracked ahead and below the forcing that we're seeing. So we are, as Tom was saying a few minutes ago, we are a couple counties south of being in a very much worse position.
Like 4 counties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could have been a very different night. And so I'm thankful that didn't happen to us, but I hate that it happened at all. And by the way, that storm's still going. So if you know anybody in like Hyden or HYDEN, Hyden, Hazard, VICA, VICCO, I don't know where that is, in Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, let them know big tornadoes coming. Anyway, back to Nashville.
Yeah, I used to work at the Jackson, Kentucky office. So that area there from Somerset to London is it's a tornado alley there. Wayne County, Pulaski, all across. So it's not really unusuul for them, but that storm is just, both those cells have just been terrible. So
Geez, Tom, where haven't you worked?
it's a shorter list than where I haven't. So I continue to get gusts here 40 to 50 miles an hour in Germantown. So there's still some good wind energy. Even as the rain came in, the wind picked really back up quite a bit. So still happening out there. I noticed the outages were up to about 4,500 for NES systems. So yeah, typical lower end severe event.
Well, yeah, definitely glad we're. Yeah, I'm with you, David. That does sort of remind me of that storm 5 years ago, and it just has that feel to it. And that thing marched west to east for a long time before it got here. And
it was that boundary. If you looked at the moisture convergence data from about 4 hours ago on the SPC Meso analysis page, you could see it, and it just followed that moisture convergence boundary all the way across Kentucky. And again, I'm just happy it didn't sit on I-40. Or we'd have been in big trouble.
I was teaching a spotter class in Somerset, Kentucky one night years ago, and actually a severe thunderstorm warning came out for the county just north of us, and we were all going to be safe. And so I brought the whole class outside and said, guys, let's see what we can see with this storm. So 25 or 30 people walk outside, and the storm had an overshooting top. It had really good structure to it. So it was a great learning opportunity to show the spotters firsthand what the bad stuff can bring. So anyway,
that's why you're the best, Tom. That's why.
No, I don't know about that, but it's I do love weather, and I love explaining it to folks. So thanks for.
You're in trouble when you can't see the overshooting top.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. That was just a joke for weather nerds. Sorry.
It was a joke for weather nerds.
Regular people who
say,
are.
how do I explain that? That's right.
So yeah, I just couldn't resist. Anyway, back to
severe thunderstorm warning continues here till 11:45, and for this large severe thunderstorm warning polygon that stretches across the majority of Middle Tennessee. To be honest with you, it stretches from Humphreys County to almost to Pickett County to the northeast. So this thing stretches most of Middle Tennessee, and it expires at 11:45, and it's for this line here that stretches all the way through this box, and you see this outflow boundary, this light blue line here. This outflow boundary is sort of helping kick these storms off, and it gives them the punch that they need to get going. But it's while it may look unimpressive on radar, I'm seeing a lot of power outage reports coming in just even on the chat here. So so places like Hermitage, and there's just there's let's see, Bell Road in there. So it's just a lot of different power outage reports coming in from around Nashville. So so that's
but
what
boy,
we
if you're in Williamson County or south of I-40, nothing.
Kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What are y'all talking about?
What are y'all talking about? Why are they live?
Well, that was so frustrating. I mean, I know just giving an ETA for these things has been a beast, because it's like, well, in Goodlettsville you had it about 45 minutes ago, and the people in Thompson Station or College Grove, it's like, well, I mean, it's going to be a while. So it's just interesting. ETAs are a little tough on this one. Hey, have your phones charged. I know if you're in Williamson County, I know you don't have a lot of time. I mean, but if your phone is low, just go ahead and plug it in. Really, I mean, we're just getting a lot of power outage reports here. Hermitage, power flickering, well, it's out in Bellevue. Just a lot of reports here. Charlotte Park by the River, power out. So if you're in Williamson County, you can just kind of take that note of going, maybe charge your phone for 15, 20 minutes and just give it a little juice, just in case your power goes out down there across the Middle Tennessee Electric District. But still a lot of power outage reports rolling in as this outflow boundary. Two things are kind of causing the strong winds. You got this outflow boundary, this blue line that's sort of out ahead of the storms. And this is what's sort of feeding the storms. It's launching the air up into these storms, kind of getting things rising, getting things going. And then the storms behind it, what's sort of left of the storms, these things can sort of tap into that wind energy aloft and bring those strong winds down to the surface. So couple of reasons there why we may have some power outages and strong winds. Looks like that outflow boundary is right there around Natchez Straits Bridge, coming through Brentwood, Antioch, Percy Priest Lake, Gladeville to Lebanon. That looks like kind of about where it is right now. A little tough to tell. TBNA's a little messy there.
Needs to get its act together. Yeah, so outflow boundary looks to be right around Fairview, Natchez Trace Bridge, Brentwood, Antioch, Rural Hill, moving southeast. So toward Franklin, toward Nolensville, toward the southeastern subdivisions in Brentwood. Hey, let's address the, hey, is it okay to go to sleep question. Does anybody want to answer that? David, are you addressing that on Twitter or anything? I haven't looked.
I mean, no. I mean, if once the storm comes through, you're fine. Like, I don't think you need to stay up all night for it. But we're under tornado watch. I don't see anything that concerns me about tornado here at all. I mean, these things look disorganized, whatever. But if you want to go to bed, go right ahead. Just make sure you have a way to get woken up in case there's a warning. I mean, I'm not your father. I am not going to tell you not to go to bed. But I'm certainly not going to warranty that you're safe in the middle of a tornado watch that's not expired. So, you're an adult. You do make your own decisions. But my advice is to, if you do decide to go to bed, have a way to wake up in case something weird happens and we get a tornado warning. I don't think we will get one. But, for now, make your best, use your best judgment. It's kind of like what people want you to do, and what they're asking us to do is what I would want to do is somebody to tell me what to do. Have me take responsible for the decisions you make in your life. I can't do that for you. What I can tell you is it doesn't look like there's going to be a tornado. It looks like pockets of severe straight line winds are coming in. It's going to rain a lot and lightning a lot. There are tornadoes up in Kentucky. Don't see anything concerning here on the radar. And I'm generally encouraged. So take that information and make your best decision and go forward and prosper. How about that?
You put it perfectly, David. I think the outflow is just about clear Davidson County, honestly. So still a few channels of strong wind behind that, but behind that, the chance for tornado is extremely low, and ahead of it, it's very, very low. So I think we're, it's just that's the last little bit of wind there in far southern Davidson that you're highlighting, and that's actually right behind the outflow. But that's where there's some precipitation, able to mix some of that stronger wind down to the surface.
Yeah, this is right here around Tyne Boulevard and Franklin Road, rather. Franklin Road, Tyne Boulevard, right there at Oak Hill or First Presbyterian Church and Judson Baptist Church, right there, that intersection, if you know where that is. So a lot of trees in there as well. This has gone through this area of wind, if it's reaching the ground, has gone through one of the areas of town with with more trees than some other areas of town. So a lot of trees in there through Green Hills, Lipscomb, White
Up
Bridge.
to up to almost 15,000 NES outages.
Yeah, I was
now.
just going to ask, what's the NES number now?
About 15,000. So that's 2 or 3 good pockets of severe wind scattered around the service area.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So, that area of wind now has crossed I-65, or it is crossing I-65. I'm going to go glance at that. Let's go take a look at the Harding Place. Harding Place exit there. Not a lot we can see there. It's moving around a little bit, but it's nothing crazy. It's a little bit of a better picture. I mean, it's breezy. It's windy a little bit. But even on TBNA, that area of wind, as it's gotten closer to the radar, has sort of fallen apart a little bit. So little pockets of wind out there. Some power outages.
I made a Chipper Jones reference earlier, so
Did you?
I apologize to all the Braves fans.
Was this on Twitter?
Yeah, it was on all our socials.
That's true.
Not Instagram, because Graham would never do such a horrible thing as to insult the way Chipper Jones ran.
Really?
You know how he always kind of ran a little sideways? Like he would run, he would go forward, but it always looked like he was going a little sideways.
Really?
Well, it's kind of like this line. It was advancing, but it was also going sideways. So I said it was a Chipper Jones thing. And people are now tweeting at Chipper Jones, who's, by the way, his actual name is Larry Jones.
Samantha says getting rough and pleasant shade. Small hail, lights flickering. I have seen the lights flicker here too. So, continuing live coverage. I mean, it is what it is at this point. Severe storms. Nothing tornadic. That's the good news, at least right now that we can see. We've been looking at velocity, making sure we don't see any signs of rotation. Still not seeing anything co-located with reflectivity that would really stand out to me as something of concern. So that is good. But intense winds along this line, something we'll have to continue to watch. Let's go back to Salina again. Tower cam there. Wind's likely picking up right now in Salina as this heavier activity rolls on through. Again, you're in this severe thunderstorm warning. Continues for you until 11:45, and then just to your southeast, the new severe thunderstorm warning in effect till 12:30 a.m. Lori says no power in Salina. Well, depends on which part of Salina you're in, because there is power in Salina, as we can see. But it depends on where you're at, though. This is a live view, but there may be portions of the town without power. So, obviously, where you're at, you are without power. So, don't know if that would be good or bad for you. It could be localized, and hopefully they'll be able to get that restored for you soon. See the wind really picking up right now in Salina. Again, very intense storm rolling through right now. Let's go back to Haydenburg, northwestern Jackson County. As the storm moves into that area as well. And camera just caught up to real time there, and just a big downpour there right now. Danielle says lights are flickering in Gainsboro. Brooke asked, do you know when Sparta should expect storms? Again, same for you as is for Crossville and other areas, probably a couple of hours. So at least an hour and a half, if not 2 hours before these storms reach you. So you got a little ways to go.
Winds, that's about what everyone's getting.
outflow is now firmly in Williamson County. And it came through here, got super windy, knocked over some of my wife's plants out on the back porch, which she is not happy about, but nothing severe.
You will recover.
We'll rebuild. We'll be fine.
Yeah, you can see that outflow is bisecting back into some storms there back in Hickman County. So just it's something to keep an eye on, right? If that, not time to totally let the guard down. It just seems very unlikely at this point that anything really organized is going to get going. But it's worth keeping an eye on.
I want to address something I just saw in the chat that made me angry. This person, RL, said no NWS office tonight closed due to cuts. That is absolutely not true. There are hardworking people at the National Weather Service office in Nashville, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And they're all working real hard tonight. So no, the Weather Service is not closed tonight.
Nor will it be tomorrow.
Yeah, correct.
We're sitting here talking to them. I can promise you they are there.
I've even got my National Weather Service retired shirt on tonight. So
Hey, there you go.
That was a parting gift from my office in Wilmington, Ohio, when I retired this year.
They took an old shirt and stitched retired under it.
I can only imagine that's what they did. Yes.
And look, you're still working tonight.
Yeah, here I am.
Yep.
Retired but not forgotten.
Tom is the man. For some of you who don't know, that this whole thing started because Tom took a chance on some morons about 15 years ago.
That's it. We're just older morons now.
That's a great way to sum up the story.
I'm a retired moron.
Well, this does go, I think, to further the discussion around the benefit of WAFs, which is stands for Warning on Forecast, and its ability to provide really timely information between watch and warning. I think it did a good job with this event.
Gallatin up there gusted to 41, B&A to 43.
There's a new SPS out, Andrew.
Okay, that's gonna cover. Are they swapping to that? Let's see here. I see it. It just hasn't shown up on my map yet.
Yeah, it covers
Williamson County.
the rest of Davidson. Yeah, go ahead, Graham. Graham's got.
Yeah, it's covering Williamson and parts back to the west.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, there it showed up. Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, it's a good sign. What we want to see is we want to see the polygons transition from. We don't want to see red. We don't want to see pink, yellow, and now they're transitioning to white. They're sort of getting less intense in the colors. So this is basically just a statement they put out saying, "Hey, there is a possibility of some sub-severe weather events happening." So let's see, winds to 50 and pea-size hail, both of which of those things are sub-severe. So what you see inside the white polygon here is not a warning; it's just a heads up from the Weather Service saying, "Hey, you could get some 50-mile-per-hour winds and some sub-severe hail." So the trend is good, and so yeah, we're doing what Tom has mentioned. We're kind of watching these areas
Up in the pleasant shade.
that are sort of causing the little bits of damage we see out there. The power outages have to be caused from something, whether it's lightning, whether it's wind and tree branch getting into a line or something like that. It has to be caused by something. So the wind's strong enough, weather's strong enough to affect the power grid there in NES's area in Nashville, and that would presumably happen over Williamson as well, maybe to a slightly lesser extent. So we're continuing to watch these things, but they've opted not to go for a severe thunderstorm warning for Williamson. They've swapped it to just a statement. So we like to see that.
The trend is our friend.
Yes. This is looking promising for us, guys. So this severe thunderstorm warning up here in Davidson County, it does continue until 11:45. And I believe that's right. Yep, 11:45. So another 4 minutes by my clock here. Another 4 minutes on that warning. I don't expect that will be reissued because they have sort of moved on and moved east with their warnings up here toward Wilson County. And let's see, that's going to be Smith County, Jackson County, and over into Overton and Fentress, the far eastern extent of the of Middle Tennessee. So they are
you.